Hey everyone, really glad to be here on the Swamp Up stage. I remember my first Swamp Up, and it was just an amazing experience being with people, having great conversations with other leaders at the time who were doing great things with development, with DevOps. And I think that this is a great time to be in our field. There's a lot happening. We're in high need, and this is the software revolution where open source software is really taking over the world. Everything we do is dependent upon, integrates with, we're pushing pull requests and changes back into open source ecosystems. And I think, like personally as a developer, I think that this is also a chance where now everyone knows what we do, unfortunately. So, I mean, I never thought my parents would know what I do for a living, but when I tell them, oh yeah, we're fixing this log4shell vulnerability, yeah, that's SolarWinds stuff. Yeah, that's not our fault, but it's related to what we're doing. And all of the different supply chain security attacks which have happened are quite challenging. So when you look at the ecosystem and kind of what's happening, we're under attack now. So as developers, as folks in the DevOps fields, you're being targeted, and also your companies are being targeted, which is really challenging. Now I have a confession to make. Now I'm a long-time open source developer. I've built IDEs back in the day, Java client libraries, maintained a JVM language, and when I released my software, I would build it on my machine and upload it to Maven Central, and what could possibly go wrong? So, do you guys trust me? Okay, that's hopefully you learned something from Nadi. Don't trust me. Don't trust my machine. You don't know where that's been. And also, you can't really trust the typical authorities. So, central repositories, they act as a vehicle, a conduit for languages. They're a great way for us to accelerate development, to get dependencies, to automate our CI/CD. But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make sure the software you're getting is secure, is stable, and safe. And it makes it a challenging environment for open source developers, right? Open source developers don't have all of the same capabilities, DevSecOps infrastructure. They don't have like full DevOps pipelines for releasing their software. And one of the things which we make a lot of investments into open source at JFrog, and this is something I'm really proud about the company. And another big investment we're making, and Yoav mentioned this, is we're announcing a new open source project called Pyrsia, and this is a way which we can help open source community to automate, secure, decentralize the distribution of open source libraries, and kind of fundamentally solve a bunch of the trust and security issues which are happening higher up in the chain. So this is something we think is really important for the entire open source ecosystem. This is infrastructure which all of us need today, and we're accelerating the development of this. I'm going to go into some of the details of how this works, but this is already the way the industry is trending in terms of building distributed systems, doing Web 3.0, and we're accelerating that vision by bringing a system today for open source developers where it has high reliability. Anybody remember the NPM outages back before Microsoft picked them up? Same thing with most of the central repositories, unfortunately. It's really hard to maintain mission-critical infrastructure which the world depends upon and is being funded by the goodwill of companies or open source organizations. So it has to be reliable. Anytime NPM, PyPy, Maven Central goes down, that's a DDoS attack against the whole developer community. Same thing for our CI/CD systems. We rely on those systems for everything which we're doing in our companies. And when that pipeline of new updates and patches gets broken, then we have a security issue. We have an issue with securing our systems downstream. So we're building a system which closes that gap, where if you pull a library from Pyrsia, it will be exactly the same library that you will get if you built it yourself from source. So it gives you that reliable guarantee that what I'm pulling off the network is exactly the same as what you build yourself. It's peer verified by multiple nodes. And the last thing, which I think is really critical, is it's designed to be open. It's built with the community. It's all open source. It's entirely open source project. And it's also on an infrastructure which is decentralized, where there's no single point of failure. So it builds this open ecosystem where you can do things. So there's kind of three critical parts to Pyrsia. One is the peer-to-peer binary distribution network. So if you're a developer, if you have your CI/CD systems hooked up to it, what you can trust is that you're going to get the same secure libraries. It's going to be distributed from other nodes in the network. So it might be nodes which are geographically close to you. It could be nodes inside your firewall. It could be some of the trusted package registries which us and other of our partner companies are going to run. And what this means is, even if, for example, one of the central trusted registries goes down, you have other sources to get the same package. Even if the network connectivity is flaky, you can get it from other nodes inside of your company or other sources. And you can also run your own infrastructure for this yourself if you want to have that reliability within your corporation. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to make sure the flow of packages is uninterrupted. You can get secure binaries distributed directly. The second big part of this infrastructure is having a multi-node verification of builds. So we all know that if you build it from source, that's pretty good, right? So if you can actually get the source code, you can build it, you can build the dependencies, then you have a high level of trust. But what's even better than that is if you're building it from source, other folks are building it from source, and you can actually verify that you're getting exactly the same results. So things which get released on the Pyrsia network will be verified by multiple different nodes in our trusted network. So you're not depending on us, you're not depending on our partners, who I'll talk about in a sec. You're getting a build which is cross-verified by multiple companies. And doing an attack against a network like this, you can't do what happened to SolarWinds and just hack the infrastructure and CI/CD of a single company. You would have to hack over a third of the companies in the network to accomplish this. And I think one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure for this is having a immutable transparency ledger where you have the full information about where the builds came from, who verified them, what dependencies they have in them. And this is all supplied by a decentralized implementation running on top of blockchain technology. So there's no way to change what happened in the past. You have full visibility for downstream software bill of materials and SBOMs where you need to supply the exact provenance of where the builds came from. And this is also something you can depend upon because it's a technology which is not a single point of failure. There's not a central server holding this information which could be modified. It's all stored in the decentralized blockchain across the trusted nodes. So I think this is super exciting technology. We're building the next generation technology today that's going to fundamentally change open source supply chain security. And to go into more detail on this, I want to invite, and this is an industry first, I believe. So we're all in person here, right? And normally the situation has just become such that, sometimes people can't speak because they get COVID or because something happens. Unfortunately, Justin actually got COVID, but he's going to join us remotely. So I would like to welcome Justin Cormack from Docker.
Hi, good to be here.
And I think you're the first ever industry presenter presenting with COVID. So thank you, Justin.
Well, hopefully not the first of many. Pity I couldn't be there in person. I miss San Diego.
So yeah, you definitely, we owe you a ticket to Swamp Up next year, or your choice of cities on our great city tour that's upcoming. But tell us a little bit about what this partnership on Pyrsia means for Docker.
We're really excited to be working on this with you. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while now. I think that what's really fascinating is that supply chain security has really revitalized all the work that needed to be done in the container ecosystem. You know, we built what was initially a very centralized system, and which didn't have security really well baked in from the beginning. And really, in the last year or so, everyone's coming saying, right, let's fix the things that we didn't fix before. Let's actually rethink how this should work. Let's work on this together, and let's build the next layer of the ecosystem. And I think that's really exciting, and it's all been driven by supply chain security. So, you know, we built a bunch of basic frameworks, like let's have immutable objects so that we can distribute them by lots of different means, and we can build them reproducibly. But let's actually do those extra bits that we said we were building this infrastructure to do. And I think that's what's really exciting about this, is that we're really building the next wave that was always promised from there. We've kind of done the consolidation phase, we've done the adoption piece, and now let's do the rebuilding and learning from the experiences.
Cool. No, thanks, Justin. And it's been a great collaboration. So we've been working with Docker. They have a lot of expertise on the peer-to-peer technologies, which we're using. And I think a good area to kind of hone in on is you mentioned immutability. Why does immutability matter for container images and for the container ecosystem?
It's really a framework that everything in modern peer-to-peer distribution, from blockchain, Git, everything is based on immutable artifacts content addressed by the hash, and it enables you to verify that you've got the same thing wherever you got it from. It was the basis, for BitTorrent all those years ago, the basis for Git. It's really been the basis for every modern content distribution system. And it means that once you've got the bits, you can verify them, and wherever they came from, anyone, however much, you don't have to trust the person they came from.
Yeah, exactly. And so for the release of Pyrsia, which we have out for everyone to try, we've built it specifically to work with Docker images to pull the official Docker images built by Docker. And can you talk a little bit about the official images and why those are important for the cloud native ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, we built the official images many years ago because it was really necessary to kind of build the ecosystem. Everyone needed those images to build all the software they build from as a base, and so they've become a critical part of the ecosystem and the sort of root of pretty much all container builds. So obviously, the security of these is very important, and the usage is very high. So obviously they've not been built on my laptop, as you were talking about before, but we really want to increase the way you can verify these images, the trust you have in them, the kind of build attestations we have, the reproducibility and all those things, so that people can really absolutely trust that these continue to be the gold standard images that they can build their ecosystem from.
Cool. No, this has been a great partnership, Justin. We're really excited about what we're doing collaboratively to launch Pyrsia and build this next generation infrastructure. And thanks very much for joining us on the Swamp Up stage virtually, and we hope next year in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see you again soon.
Okay, so we're announcing Pyrsia today. It's available for you to try. It integrates on the Docker command line, allows you to pull the verified images from a peer-to-peer network today. And this is in collaboration with a bunch of industry partners, and more to come.